about Tabular. We're also going to talk about Power Pivot. Most of the things, with the exception of the security piece that we're going to talk about today, actually all this stuff is going to be applicable to both Tabular and Power Pivot. So anything that you see me do today, if you have any questions about how to do it in Power Pivot, if you don't know where a particular option is or anything like that, just shoot me an email or put it in the question box there, and I'll be sure to try to get to those questions here as soon as possible. So after the session gets done today, I've got some demos and everything, obviously, that I'm going to show you. If any of you guys have been to one of my webinars in the past, you know I'm not a huge slides guy. I prefer to show you things rather than just having you read off of slides here. So at the end of this, what I'll do is get all the questions from Tammy, and I will put those up into a blog and post a link to the recording, and also zip up all the files that I'm going to build today and send those over to everyone as well, or put that up on my blog so everybody can download that. That way you guys can go out there and get samples of the code that I use and modify this for your own uses as well. Okay, so again, we're going to be talking about some of the limitations in Tabular. A lot of these things we can obviously work around that we're going to show you today, and hopefully do a little bit of talking about pizza as well. Okay. So just a little bit about myself. For those of you who have come to these webinars in the past, you're probably already familiar with most of this stuff. I work for Pragmatic up in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a senior BI consultant with them, and I also do training from SharePoint, Power BI, IS, RS, AS, all the BI stack. I do all those training sessions as well. I blog from time to time. It's been a little while since I've put anything up on my blog there with the holidays and everything, but I've got a couple of cool things coming out here pretty soon. And then I speak places and write stuff whenever I get a chance. Okay, so here's what we're gonna talk about today. Real quick, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the current supported features in Tabular and what's currently supported in Multidimensional. You know, we're not going to go through line by line every single one of the features that are available in each one of the products, but I do want to give you just a quick overview of the differences between the two, so that you can hopefully make a little bit more informed decision as to which one of the products that you want to use. Because Tabular isn't always the right choice, Multidimensional isn't always the right choice, and there's a lot of situations where you may actually want to build one of each and give your users the option based on the functionality that they need at a particular time to go to whichever one of those models that you have. So we'll talk a little bit about the feature differences between the two, and then we'll roll right into a couple of things that I'm going to show you the workarounds for in Tabular. So many-to-many role-playing dimensions. Both of those, obviously, I wouldn't be talking about them today if there wasn't true native support inside of the product for them. We can work around both of those using DAX, and I'll show you how to do both of those. Dynamic security, this is one of those things that I put it in here not because it's a limitation of Tabular necessarily, but because we get a lot of questions on it. You know, there's a lot of documentation out there about how to do dynamic, like the row-level security inside of analysis services multidimensional, but there's not nearly as much out there about how to do it inside of Tabular, so I do want to show you guys how to do that today. And actually, I think it's a little bit easier to do it here inside of Tabular than it is to do it inside Multidimensional. So I'll show you how to do that. And then time permitting, this ironically actually came up with my client this morning, and I got an email from somebody whenever I posted this topic online that I was going to be doing this, asking me about how to do OR filters inside of Power Pivot or Tabular. So if we have time, I'll show you guys how to do the OR filters. If not, I'll definitely have that information up on my blog for you guys to take a look at. So we'll talk about how to do OR filtering, because natively the product really just does and. It does really the intersection between things. All right, so there's a fluffy kitten, because kittens like pizza as well. And let's talk a little bit about Tabular versus Multidimensional. So, you know, again, I'm not going to go through every single feature in the product and tell you which one's supported and which, but these are kind of some of the, you know, I went through the list of features and kind of picked out some of the big ones that customers always pick out when I go and talk to people about analysis services. These are really some of the highlights that we have. So actions and drill through, some of those two things kind of go together a little bit in the designer for Multidimensional, but we don't have support for actions inside of Tabular. We do inside of Multidimensional. There are some workarounds through some blogs out there that you can find to do some of that stuff, though. Calculated measures supported in both products. Drill throughs and KPIs, same thing. And then obviously the many-to-many that we're going to talk about today, not natively supported, but you can do it here in Tabular with DAX. And then if you happen to need write-back functionality, to my knowledge there is no workaround or anything for that with Tabular currently, so you will have to go multidimensional. I'll put this link there on my blog as well, but that's just the link there on mstn.com or .microsoft.com. It's just the actual feature, the full feature comparison between the two products. The one that I did leave off the list there, but actually comes up quite a bit in conversation, is self-referencing hierarchies, so parent-child hierarchies. They're not natively supported inside of Tabular, but again, it's one of those things that you can work around with DAX. It actually is very involved, so I don't have time to go through how to actually set that whole thing up today. But if you are curious about that, I might see if I can put some resources out there on my follow-up blog, so that you guys can go out there and do a little bit of exploration on that yourselves, and shoot me an email if you have any questions about that also. And I'll put my contact information up at the end of the webinar here. All right, so first thing we're going to talk about is many-to-many relationships. So I'm going to show you how to do many-to-many relationships inside of multidimensional. I've already got a model built for that one, and then we'll go over to Tabular and show you some of the differences between the two of those. Okay. Some of the things we're going to talk about right here, as far as the data goes, is actually setting the data up inside of your data warehouse or the source of your data. There's no difference to the way that you would do this. It's going to be the same exact model. You're going to have a bridge table between two other dimensions, more than likely, that has the many-to-many relationship, and then one of those dimensions will be related to a fact table. And I have a diagram out there that I will show you guys actually what that looks like. It's not super difficult. It's actually only one calculation that we're going to have to do. There's a lot of ways to extend this, so if you go online and do some searching for optimization of many-to-many relationships, you'll find a lot of different ways that you can actually take these many-to-manys and improve the performance or make them very, very complex. So we're going to show you a pretty simple example today, but it works for probably the majority of the situations that I've had clients that need to do many-to-many. What we're going to look at today probably works, I would say, for 90% of them or more even. Okay? The downside to doing many-to-manys inside of Tabular, because it's not natively supported and we have to write DAX for it, is we actually have to write some DAX for every single measure that we have inside of our model. So one of the limitations, or not one of the limitations, but one of the differences that you'll see when we go in and start building this is inside of multidimensional, because it has native support, it handles all of the associated measures for us automatically. In Tabular, we're going to have to do some coding ourselves. So because we have to go and write DAX for every single measure that's inside of our model, things can get a little bit messy in there.